between L and G. The proposition for today's debate is resolved that cell phones should be banned in the secondary school in Taiwan. For the debaters, rules for timing your speech are as follows. When there are 30 seconds left, you will hear a short beep. When time is up, you will hear a long beep. After that, for every 10 seconds, you will hear a short beep. When it is 30 seconds into each section, you will hear another long beep. And upon hearing that, you have to stop your speech. And the rules for timing your script examination are: when there are 30 seconds left, you will hear a short beep. When time is up, you will hear a long beep. And upon hearing that, you have to stop your cross examination.
Each team needs to prepare evidence cards for cross-examination. Any evidence cited during the debate should have a corresponding evidence card, which may be reviewed upon request by the cross-examiner and their teammates. The card needs to be returned at the end of the constructed speech following the cross-examination. All audience, please turn off your cell phone or turn into the vibrate mode. When the debate is still in progress, please do not chat or use flash when taking pictures. Thank you. First, affirmative constructive speech. 5 minutes.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is a affirmative position that cell phones should be banned in secondary schools in Taiwan. I will begin my speech by defining alternatives in the resolution, and address the status quo and the need to change, and finally present a plan to improve the situation. First of all, I would like to define cell phones as smartphones, which serve similar functions of a computer. Secondly, I would like to define secondary schools, according to the Ministry of Education, which will be mentioned as the MOE in the following speech. Normally aged from 11 to 18, a school intermediate between elementary school and college, including junior secondary schools and senior secondary schools. Finally, we're going to define ban as prohibiting cell phones during school hours. Now we're going to move on to the status quo. In 2011, the MOE issued the principles of carrying and using cell phones on campus. As technology evolved rapidly, these principles issued 8 years ago failed to serve their purpose of reducing cell phone harm to students. In 2015, the legislature carried out a new law in the Protection of Children and Youth Welfare and Rights Act to restrict youth and children from not using digital devices too long over an appropriate time, because cell phones have an impact on physical and mental development of children and youth, which can cause inattention, lower communication skills, alienation between parents and children, and can cause social problems. For instance, according to a research conducted by the MOE, approximately 30% of secondary schools suffer from cell phone addiction. Cell phone addiction includes several symptoms, which I will further elaborate later. Thus, the law should be revised to fix the problem existing in the status quo. Now we're going to move on to our contentions. Contention 1, distraction. Cell phones in class will divide attention and furthermore lead to decreased grades or lower class quality. According to Shalini Misra, an assistant professor in Virginia Tech, the mere presence of cell phones, even without using, can induce a constant urge to seek out information, therefore causing distraction. Furthermore, according to a survey done by the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, out of the 777 students, 80% of them indicated that such cell phone usage in class caused them to pay less attention in the classroom and miss lecture. In another experiment with 118 participants, a lecture, and some tests, distraction caused by cell phones were proven to be significant. The 118 students were divided into 2 groups, with or without cell phone control, and they each enrolled the same lecture under the same conditions. The group without cell phone control scored an average of 10% lower than the other one. Those who were in the group that without cell phone control but did not use cell phones also scored lower. Most researchers have pointed out the significance of distraction caused by cell phones. Therefore, in order to prevent cell phones from distracting students, and since cell phones are distractions that we can't control, banning cell phones is the fundamental way to improve education quality in the current society. Contention 2, face-to-face interactions. According to our curriculum guidelines, schools are required to promote peer interactions. In a research conducted in the Elon University, California, 92% of students believe technology negatively affects face-to-face communication, while 46% of them communicate more frequently via technology than in person. This indicates that decrease both in quality and quantity regarding face-to-face interactions. Furthermore, we have evidence showing that the absence of cell phones significantly increased the connectedness and the empathetic concern of an interaction regardless of age, gender, mood, and so on. Therefore, in order to boost quality communication, encourage students to have better face-to-face interaction, banning cell phones in school is necessary. Contention 3. Addiction. Cell phone addiction is a technological addiction, which is a type of behavioral addiction. The symptoms of cell phone addiction include various problematic manifestations, such as intrapsychic and interpersonal conflicts, stress due to the need of responding immediately to messages, and feelings of irritability of being lost, if separated from the phone or of sending and viewing messages. In order to reduce addiction, several measures should be taken by schools, such as motivational interviewing. Otherwise, students will be addicted to them before the addiction is cured. The advantages of banning cell phone are as follows. As an individual becomes a teenager, their influence significantly increases. Banning cell phones can protect students who are initially not addicted to cell phones, being affected by those who are constantly distracted by cell phones in class. Now, we're going to present our plan to solve the problems. First of all, we're going to legislate a law to prohibit any digital device in school hours. Secondly, parents are required to sign a contract for their children to bring cell phones to school. Finally, students who sign the contract are allowed to bring their cell phones to school, but should store their cell phones in a smart locker in school during school hours. My partner will detail our plan in our second affirmative speech. I now stand ready for cross-examination.
Second negative cross-examine first affirmative. 3 minutes.
You mentioned the evidence of the students are about two groups. And what is the sample size?
I will give it to you in our evidence card.
Could you please tell me who is the sample? The college students or?
You mean the 118, as I just mentioned.
Okay, please give me the evidence card.
Okay.
Do you aware that if cell phones are taken away, there are another thing that can be that students can be distracted?
Here's another. Okay, so of course, distractions may occur even without cell phones. However, cell phones are currently a major distraction that can cause the decrease in grades. So our current intentions are to remove this distraction.
Do you have evidence shows that banning a phone, students won't be distracted by other things?
No, we don't. We didn't claim that. We didn't claim that students won't be distracted by other things. But however, cell phones is a major distraction, and we should not just use this cause to avoid that problem.
So you cannot ensure that after they don't have a cell phone, they won't be distracted by other things?
No, but at least they won't be distracted by cell phones, and that is a major one.
Another problem is the addiction problem.
Okay.
Do you aware that students can still use their cell phone after school?
Yes.
If they are not totally banned the phone, how can they get rid of the addiction?
Okay, so first of all, for those students who are already addicted in cell phone, as I just mentioned, will receive cures and from the counselor office. And that will be more further elaborated in our second affirmative plan. Or would you like to ask me about it?
Okay. Do you have evidence shows that after the project you made about cure the addiction, they can really get rid of it?
We do.
Okay, please give me the evidence.
Okay.
And this communication problem. You have showed the evidence of that. Do you have what is the
you mean the sample size of the which one?
They will decrease their communication, and they will have the cell phone on the presence. Their communication will decrease.
The sample size was one. I can't forget, but it's about like 100 people and 2 in a group, and they will do conversation.
Thank you.
1 minute preparation. constructive speech. 5 minutes.
Good morning. It will be the negative position. Today's debate that there are no serious problems in the status quo. Banning cell phone use in high school, rather than repairing the harms proposed by the affirmative, will cause even more serious problems. As technology advances, using cell phone as a learning tool has become an inevitable trend. Instead of merely banning cell phone, what the school should do is teach them the correct way to use their cell phones. I will start with a few rebuttals before I talk about our minor adjustments. First, the affirmative claim that cell phone can be a huge distraction in class. However, there are many kinds of distractions in class, and also they cannot prove that after banning cell phones, students can really concentrate in class. For those students who are just not interested in the classes, what the teacher should do is to revise the courses and get the student to be more engaged, instead of merely banning cell phone. And second, the affirmative argued that students have less face-to-face communication with their peers because of cell phones. However, contrary to their arguments, with the negative that cell phone can actually improve students' interpersonal relationship. According to a research done by Dr. Wu Zhongli and Master Li Jianming in Pingdong University in 2016, the more often adolescents use their cell phones, the better interpersonal relationship they will have. This is because cell phone allowed them to share thoughts and give feedback almost immediately, and further meets their need to be accepted and cared. And third, the affirmative also argued that cell phone addiction will lead to a huge problem. According to Taiwanese psychiatrist Tang Xinbei in 2016, factors accounting for cell phone addiction are quite complicated. One of which is that students tend to seek a sense of belonging on the internet because they cannot get that in real life, either because they have too much homework or they don't get along with their peers well. With the negative argue that banning cell phone is just a temporary and superficial measure that cannot solve the problem. If the teacher doesn't try to know why their students get addicted, but only forcefully take away their cell phones, the student will continue abusing their cell phones after they are out of the control of their teachers and the schools, and thus fall into a vicious cycle because of the school's wrong way to deal with them. And also, according to a report by Master Chen Yixian in Zhonghua University in 2012, 80% of the students use their cell phone after school. Only 6% of the students use their phone during class time. And also, according to a report on students' use of internet of Ministry of Education in 2015, among the time senior high school students spend on surfing the internet, 90% is when they are at home. Only 3.7% is when they are at school. The result shows that home is where students usually surf the internet and use their cell phones. As a result, banning cell phone use at school will not effectively help students to get rid of cell phone addiction. And also, we're going to address how the negative is going to solve the problem. According to the cell phone usage rule of Ministry of Education in the status quo, students' cell phones should be turned off and cannot interrupt their schoolwork. This rule will be written in the school regulation too. And also, if students are caught using cell phone for a non-educational purpose, they will receive punishments. Also, with the negative plan is based on mutual trust, which we believe will be more beneficial than a hard ban. With the negative argue that teachers take away students' cell phone because they think students are not trustworthy. This may damage students' self-esteem because they will think that they're being trusted and respected. According to Anita Charles, a lecturer in education in 2018, cell phone gets at the heart of rule building in the classroom. The best rules are built on trust and respect, and that respect is a two-way street. And according to her observations, students become more cooperative when they feel that they're being listened to. As a result, when schools just ban cell phone altogether without communication with their students, it will ultimately become a top-down regulation, which we believe will bring more harms than benefits to the students. And also, with the negative argue that by incorporating cell phones in class and further adding the concept of co-use by Liskov, a clinical associate professor at the University of Michigan in 2016, meaning that 2 or 3 students share one smartphone when teachers use them to teach. Students can not only enhance their capability of digital learning, but also have face-to-face communication at the same time, which is emphasized by the affirmative. And also, according to another research done by Kevin M. Thomas in Bellarmine University in the US in 2016, 91% of the surveyed students reported that they use mobile phones for educational purpose at schools. Overall, the study proposed that mobile devices is a suitable learning tool for the classroom. And also, why do students need cell phone at school? Why not laptops or computers? Firstly, cell phones are personal devices that students are familiar with and know how to use the most. Second, Learning on the cell phone can extend students' learning experiences beyond the walls of the schools and the confinement of a class period. Thus, with a negative belief that using cell phone to teach and learn is the most effective and efficient way, compared with laptops and computers offered by the school. I'm ready for cross-examination.
First, affirmative cross-examine first sentence. 30 minutes.
Okay, thank you for your speech. So at the very beginning of her speech, you mentioned that there are no problems regarding cell phone usage. Is it correct?
There are no serious problems.
Okay, so then why do you ban them? Then why do you let them turn them off? You mentioned that they will need to turn them off in school. Is it correct?
I've mentioned that 91% of the students use their phone for educational purpose at school. So we believe that they can have a certain extent of self-discipline and use them for educational purpose.
So is there any specific steps to reach your so-called self-discipline?
My partner will detail all.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so I would like to ask evidence for these four. Okay. And so you mentioned about mutual trust between students and teachers. So, and how can you guarantee that mutual trust between student and teacher to increase? And how do you exactly fulfill this wish?
Under our plan, student phone will not be taken away by the teacher because.
So how can you make sure that they won't play video games or something else? Do you have any methods to ensure that?
We have a certain regulation that the student phone should be turned off, and if they want to.
Oh, so they're going to be turned off.
Turned off.
Can you tell us what the difference between turning off and ban?
The phone is kept by themselves, and under our plan, if the student want to use their phone for educational purpose,
so they don't need to turn off if they want to. So they can turn it on if they want to. Is it correct?
No, if they want to use their cell phone, they have to first ask the teacher's permission.
Okay, so so you mentioned that distraction is mostly caused because of boring classes. Is it correct? Not interesting classes. Okay, so so first of all, is interesting classes a main purpose that the school serves? Does the school has to provide interesting classes?
We think that no matter how interesting or whatever it is interesting in the classes, it should be centered on the students.
So you don't know what any benefits of interesting classes, is it correct?
I don't necessarily mean benefit, but beneficial. And under our plan, we incorporate technology into classes, and students can be more engaged under our plan.
Okay, so you keep mentioning about cell phone usage at home, but however, the topic is about in school. So what do you have to say about that?
What I mean is that the problems you mentioned is not serious at school, and the main place students use their phone is at home. So your plan is not going to solve the problem.
So are you aware that cell phones can cause addiction, according to your constructive speech?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so so you mentioned that you're going to teach technology in the correct way. Is there any specific steps of that? Thank you.
1 minute preparation. Affirmative constructive speech. 5 minutes.
Good morning, honorable judges, fellow debaters. I would first like to respond to the negative, then move on to detail our plan on banning cell phone users in secondary schools to fix the problem existing in said school. Firstly, the negative claimed that there isn't any problem existing in the same school. But however, during the cross-examination, they confirmed that distraction addiction did appear, so it contradicts with their previous statements. And their minor repair wasn't mentioned in the constructive speech, so we cannot make sure whether it's feasible or not. And also, they did we requested for their evidence card, but they didn't give them to us. Also, they said cell phones are the major they said cell phone be taken away and students would be distracted by other things. But however, we like to argue that cell phones are the major distraction. By taking cell phones away, can well improve the status quo. It's quite a common sense. Also, they said that cell phone could be turned on after teacher's consent. But allow me to remind you that it is similar to our concept ban. Now, let's take a look at our plan. Our plan can be divided into 5 parts. First, establish regulations. The MOE should ban all forms of digital device uses during school hours by establishing regulations. And second, mandates. Parents will need to sign a contract if students want to bring their digital devices to school with the following rules. First, students whose parents have signed a contract need to hand in their digital devices during school hours in high-tech lockers placed in the hallways. Students need to place their cell phones in the lockers by themselves before school starts, and can only take their cell phone back after school. Students whose parents haven't signed a contract cannot bring their digital devices to school at all times. Second, students who using digital devices during all school hours are strictly prohibited. Third, students who violate the rules will be punished by school regulations and will be given a demerit, and the teacher have the right to temporarily store students' digital devices and require parents to claim them back. Students who attempt to use digital devices by lying to the teacher will be punished not only for violating the school law, but also deceiving the teachers. Fourth, teachers have the right to temporarily store students' digital devices if the student keep violating the rule. And also, fifth, schools will not be responsible for the loss of the digital devices handed in by students. For those students who are already addicted to digital devices, we, the affirmative, present a mental treatment called motivational interviewing, also known as MI, has a significant effect on social media addiction. Firstly, for the students who are already addicted to, schools have to arrange teacher counselors as counselors to help students get rid of addiction with the MI therapy. Besides, as the teacher counselors are already trained in the teacher education program, there's no need of them to receive any additional training. And in the beginning of each semester, teacher counselors are required to inform and alert homeroom teachers of students with health problems, either mental or physical. Secondly, we, the affirmative, have evidence that shows by taking away digital devices and implementing MI therapy, it will not only reduce the risk of cell phone addictive behavior, but also can prevent students from being an addict. Third, funding. We'll use smart high-tech lockers to store students' digital devices, and those lockers will be installed in the hallways. Students whose parents have signed a contract will have to play space in the lockers. And also, we have the funds to back up our statement that can show out our lockers is feasible. The MO should designate budget to the legislature as a part of the education budget. Fourth, agency and enforcement. The MOE should regularly assign agents from the executive plan designing and resource branch under the K-12 education administration to make sure that schools have carried out this plan well. Fifth, solvency. According to my partner, the presence of digital device, even without using, can induce a constant urge to seek information and therefore cause distraction and low face-to-face interaction. Thus, by banning cell phones, we can protect students who are initially not addicted to cell phones from being affected by those who are constantly distracted by cell phones in class. Besides, by putting digital devices away in the lockers, those problems could be improved. I now stand ready for cross-examination. Thank you.
First negative from exam, second affirmative. 3 minutes.
Morning. And let me ask again. Can you be sure that after banning cell phone, students can really concentrate in class?
Once again, like what my partner of the first affirmative debater has said, he said, there are lots of distractions in classes, but cell phones are the most significant one.
So they may not be distracted by cell phone, but can they really concentrate in the class?
We're focusing on whether we can really improve the status quo. So,
Don't you think it is superficial?
to evaluate something that whether it's effective or not could be evaluated by seeing the status quo is improved or not by banning cell phones,
Okay,
which is the.
Let me ask some detail about your point. Who is going to be in charge of the lock?
Because according to our plan, schools will not take any responsibility for students. Because first of all, the cell phone would not be stolen easily because of the lockers, the high-tech lockers, and surveillance cameras.
Then how can you get a cell phone into the locker? No one's going to be responsible. Do you mean that students need to turn their cell phone by themselves into the locker?
Exactly, because
Then how can you ensure every student will do this? If there's no one to check if they really put their cell phone.
according to our plan, if students take out their phone during class hours, then